that I'm not gonna be the best I could be, you know. So it's like I got the expectation for myself and how I do everything, how I live my life. I want the best of everything, you know, because that's what I seen Pops, and we all seen that, you know, how the best just in life with everything almost. So it's like you see some things you'll rather improve like in different areas of life. So it's like if I got the standard off the field and what I want to do it like in real life off the field, then it's like on the field I gotta have that utmost standard too.
Shedeur Sanders just did something no college football player in history has ever done. Not Trevor Lawrence, not Caleb Williams, not even Deion Sanders back in his heyday. While everybody was arguing about who starts at quarterback in Cleveland, Nike quietly made Shedeur Sanders the first college football player to ever sign this kind of deal, full stop. And the numbers behind it aren't just big, they're breaking records that have stood since before Shedeur was even born. So how did a rookie who hasn't even started a full NFL season yet land something the biggest names in college football history couldn't touch? Stick around, because this one actually changes how we look at him completely.
Because it doesn't, because at the end of the day, it's college football nowadays, so everybody's getting paid.
Yeah.
Like 90% of the team, like, you know, will be getting paid.
That's actually why I have a lot of respect for you, is because the spotlight and the money at the young age, I feel like people, even in the new college football era.
Let's talk about something that got buried under all the quarterback competition noise this week, because honestly, it's bigger than anything happening on the practice field right now. Everybody's been locked in on the Browns' quarterback battle. Deshaun Watson, Shedeur Sanders, Dillon Gabriel, who's starting, who's not, what Jerry Jeudy thinks, what Bernie Kosar thinks, what every analyst with a podcast thinks. And look, that's a real story. It matters. It's going to shape this franchise for years. But while all of that noise was happening, something else was going on in the background that barely got talked about, and it might end up mattering more than any of it.
Like, and this is something that I think Dad said, like in the morning meeting, I think that I took from it, is just like, I feel like God gonna give you what you want, but it's some things you gotta be able to say no to. It's some things you gotta live without.
Yeah.
There's some things you're just not gonna be able to do just because you could have all these girls and you could do all this stuff. That don't mean I could partake in that activity at the same time.
Yeah.
Nike made Shedeur Sanders the first college football athlete in history to sign a deal like this. Not the biggest, not the richest, the first ever. Think about that for a second. College football has been around for over a century. NIL deals have existed for a few years now. And in that time, we've seen basketball players, gymnasts, and even track athletes get major shoe deals. But football, the sport that generates more money than almost anything else in college athletics, had never produced this specific kind of partnership with Nike until Shedeur Sanders came along.
We don't even notice that.
What do you mean in terms of the hype? You don't even notice it?
No, like we don't care about the hype. Like when you say, "Oh, I love what y'all doing down here," it's like in my brain, I'm like, "Dang, wait until we start actually doing something." You know what I'm saying? So we're not like ignorant to the fact that, I mean, we got that record and people still watching us. We just have to like perform on the stage.
So what actually makes this different? It's not just a jersey deal or a name on a cleat situation. This is Nike building something around him the way they'd build something around an established pro, except he was still in college when it started. That's the part that should stop you in your tracks. Companies like Nike don't hand out that level of trust to just anybody. They study the numbers, they study the risk, they study whether a player's popularity is real or just a temporary spike. And they looked at Shedeur Sanders and decided. Now, here's where it gets even more interesting, because this isn't happening in isolation either. Shedeur didn't just get a random shoe deal. He's the one who brought back his father's old shoe line, the Air DT Max, calling it the family business. Think about the layers there. You've got a legacy brand from Deion Sanders' playing days, dormant for years, and it takes his son signing a historic deal with the same company to bring it back into relevance. That's not just a business transaction. That's a story writing itself in real time, and most fans haven't even connected those dots yet.
But why would I feel bad? Because my dad took advantage of his moment, and he set me up to have success. Now, my job is to, okay, cool. Now, I understand the pros and cons of everything. Now I got to put myself in position to have success also.
Yeah.
So all it is a spotlight. You just got to take advantage of the spotlight. I'm not going to be mad because who Pops is. You feel me? That don't make me feel no type of way.
And this comes on top of something we already knew was insane. Shedeur Sanders set the all-time NFLPA group licensing record as a rookie. We're talking about beating Tom Brady's number, and not by a small margin, more than doubling what Patrick Mahomes did in that same category. Let that sink in for a second. Tom Brady, arguably the greatest quarterback to ever play the position, 7 championships, 20-plus years in the league, and Shedeur Sanders, a guy who hasn't even finished his first full season, already blew past his group licensing number before ever proving anything on a Sunday that actually counted for a championship. So when you stack all of this together, the historic Nike deal, the revived family shoe line, the record-breaking merchandise numbers, the #1 jersey in the league, you start to realize this isn't just hype anymore. This is a business machine that's already operating at a scale most veteran players never reach in their entire careers. And it's happening around a guy who's still fighting for playing time in Cleveland.
No, his expectation in everything always been that since the beginning. So, okay, just because success and other people see your success when you get to this point, it's not like he's not going to change. It always been the same.
Yeah.
So it never been, oh, this would it come with. Like, he never sat down and had a conversation because each year is like a building stone, a stepping stone of what the next year is to come.
Let's break down why the timing on this is almost unbelievable if you actually think it through. Most players who reach this level of commercial partnership have already stacked up years of tape, playoff runs, maybe even a championship or two before a brand commits to building something historic around them. Shedeur Sanders is doing this before he's even locked down QB1 in his own building. That's the part scouts and analysts keep skipping past because it doesn't fit neatly into the quarterback competition storyline. But businesses don't wait around for storylines to resolve themselves. Nike moved now while the debate was still raging, which tells you they weren't betting on this season alone. They were betting on the next decade. And it's not just Nike paying attention either. Once one major brand goes first on something like this, it usually triggers a ripple effect across the entire industry. Other companies start reevaluating their own rosters of endorsed athletes, wondering if they missed a window. Agents start fielding more calls. Marketing departments start pulling up his numbers to compare against their own guys. That's the invisible part of this story, the part that doesn't show up in a single headline, but shapes an entire industry's approach to who gets invested in early and who gets left waiting. Now let's talk about the money side for a second, because the group licensing record deserves its own conversation entirely. Beating Tom Brady's number as a rookie isn't just a fun stat to throw out there. It's a direct signal about jersey sales, trading cards, video game likeness deals, and every other category that gets bundled into that number. Brady built that record over years of championships and national relevance. Mahomes built his through back-to-back MVP caliber seasons and multiple Super Bowl appearances. Shedeur Sanders got there in year 1 without a single deep playoff run to his name yet. That's not a coincidence, and it's not just because his father is Deion Sanders either, even though that obviously helped open doors early on. At some point, a name alone doesn't sustain numbers like this. The fan base has to actually want to buy in, year after year, jersey after jersey, and so far, they clearly do. Here's another angle worth sitting with. A lot of players who blow up commercially before they blow up athletically end up facing a specific kind of backlash. Fans and media start asking whether the attention is earned or manufactured, whether the business side is outrunning the football side in a way that isn't sustainable. We've seen it happen before with other high-profile prospects who got the hype train early and then had to spend years trying to catch up their production up to their popularity. Shedeur Sanders is walking that exact tightrope right now, except the numbers behind him, the Nike deal, the group licensing record, the merchandise sales, they're already historic, regardless of how the quarterback competition shakes out. That's a very different position to be in than most guys who deal with this kind of scrutiny. And think about what this means for the Browns organization specifically. Whether Andrew Berry, Jimmy Haslam, or anyone else in that front office wants to admit it publicly, having a player with this level of commercial pull on your roster changes the calculus around decisions involving him. It's not that business considerations should override football decisions. They shouldn't. And to their credit, the front office has stayed committed to letting the competition play out on merit. But it's naive to pretend a historic Nike partnership and record-breaking merchandise numbers exist in a total vacuum from how a franchise thinks about its long-term direction. Stadiums get built around players like this. New stadium plans already tied to 2029 have him at the center of a lot of that conversation, whether he ends up being the long-term starter or not.
Now let's talk about why this actually matters beyond the money, because that's usually where people stop paying attention. When a brand like Nike commits to being first with somebody, it's not charity. It's a calculated bet on cultural relevance. It means Nike's internal data, the stuff we don't get to see, told them that Shedeur Sanders isn't a passing trend. They believe in the staying power of his name enough to attach it to something no other college athlete in the history of the sport has gotten. That's a signal to every other brand watching from the sidelines. If Nike is willing to go first, other companies start asking themselves why they aren't already in business with him too. And think about the timing of all this. This deal isn't happening after a Super Bowl run. It's not happening after a statistically dominant rookie season. It's happening in the middle of a quarterback competition where some analysts are still debating whether he'll even be the guy long-term in Cleveland. That's what makes this specific deal so unusual. Normally, these historic partnerships get built after a player has already proven something undeniable on the field. Shedeur Sanders is proving it off the field first and daring the football side to catch up. That's exactly why this story deserves way more attention than it's getting right now. Everybody wants to talk about who's under center week 1. Meanwhile, there's a business empire being constructed around one 20-something-year-old that's already outpacing legends who spent their entire careers building toward these same numbers. Whether or not he wins the starting job this season, Shedeur Sanders has already secured something that outlasts win-loss records. And that's the kind of thing that changes how a career gets remembered. Let's also be honest about what this does to the noise from people like Jerry Jeudy, ESPN Cleveland, and everyone else piling on this offseason. You can question his quarterback play. You can debate whether he should be starting over Deshaun Watson right now. But you cannot argue with a company like Nike making a historic first-of-its-kind bet on him. That's not a media narrative. That's a corporation with billions of dollars on the line deciding he's worth being the first at something no college football player has ever gotten before him. And here's something we're sitting with. A lot of players who get this kind of attention early in their career end up buckling under the pressure of it. The spotlight gets too big, the expectations swallow them whole, and the business side ends up outweighing the football side entirely. But so far, Shedeur Sanders has handled all of it with the same calm, confident energy you see in every interview he does. Comfortable in his own skin, unbothered by the noise, moving at his own pace while everyone else tries to define him from the outside. That temperament might end up being just as important to his long-term success as any Nike deal or record-breaking number. So where does this actually leave us? On one side, you've got a rookie who's still fighting through an actual quarterback competition, dealing with receivers who might be quietly rooting against him, dealing with analysts questioning every throw. On the other side, you've got a business empire already operating at a historic level, breaking records set by some of the greatest players to ever touch a football. Two completely different stories happening to the exact same 20-something-year-old at the exact same time. Here's the question I want you to sit with. If Shedeur Sanders never wins a single playoff game in Cleveland, does any of this off-field history still make him one of the most significant college-to-pro athletes we've seen in years? Or does none of it matter at all if he doesn't deliver on Sundays? Drop your honest take in the comments, business legend or Sunday results only, because I think this is one of those debates that splits the room right down the middle. Smash like and subscribe if you want more breakdowns like this one.